Are you tired of talking about AI yet? I kind of am, but it's not going away anytime soon. And of course, AI tools can be great for time saving and helping with creativity, saving money, and a whole lot more. And of course, they are only getting better. But in the meantime, as we learn how these tools can improve our lives, it's good to recognize the limitations as well and be aware of potential issues as we implement these AI tools into our workflows, especially in the health and wellness space where trust and credibility is key. Today, I'm sharing some things to keep in mind when it comes to using AI for your podcast so you can avoid the embarrassing mistakes and problems that I've been seeing. I'm Joel Oliver. This is Profits Through Podcasting, where we help health-focused entrepreneurs generate leads and revenue for their businesses through podcasting. So, while mistakes and glitches may matter less when it comes to hobby podcasts, in the health and wellness space, where we are trying to build trust and credibility, and in some cases even dealing with industry regulations, everything counts. That's why I become a little concerned when seeing podcasts just flying out that have been shoved through an AI, a few buttons clicked, and then it's off into the void and on to the next one. Time and cost savings, of course, can be very appealing, and AI is great for that in many cases, but it's important to be aware when it could be working against us. I see many podcasts on a weekly basis, and I've noticed a lot of problems caused by AI that I want to tell you about. So if you are using AI to do some or all of your podcast production, you can do it in a way that is not detrimental to your brand or reputation. So we'll begin with the foundation, which is editing, which basically every podcast episode needs. Now, I do need to get on my soapbox for a few minutes here to talk about editing, so apologies in advance, but it's an important conversation. So as podcasting became more popular over, say, the last 10 to 15 years, this has been happening, but really more so in the last 5 years, mass consumers were starting to be introduced to audio equipment, recording equipment, audio and video editing software, and other technical things that really wasn't so common before. Now, of course, here in these later years, like with Zoom and USB microphones and game streaming and cameras, all that exploded further. So it's just commonplace these days for a lot of people. It all became a lot more accessible. And now we've got tools where virtually anybody can do things like edit audio and video, by text, just like you're using Microsoft Word. So this is where I need my soapbox. Having been professionally trained as an audio engineer, back in a time when this stuff was, like I'm saying, all the more complex and inaccessible. It just wasn't a thing that someone had a professional microphone in their home or knew what an audio editing software was or how to use it. This was like professional level stuff in most cases. But even with the situation we find ourselves in today, where it is all a lot more accessible and mainstream, it does remain that there is a difference between actually doing something right and thinking you've done something right. So whether it's with the advancements that we've got now or in the earlier days, like I was talking about, the one thing that I know hasn't changed is the concept of you don't know what you don't know. So how I used to see this was podcasters just watching a few YouTube tutorials, managing to get a recording done and exported and thinking, I did it, this is great. What many people weren't aware of was issues like chopping off the ends of words because they just didn't really hear that detail, removing all the breaths so it sounded really unnatural, levels being way too loud and sounding really distorted or distressed and really annoying to listen to, sound quality being very poor, one speaker being very low and the other being very loud, or the intro being very loud and the episode really low, all sorts of things that you might not be aware of if you didn't have that experience and understanding of how to do this in a professional manner. Now, AI tools and newer technology have helped improve some of these things, but they have also introduced a slew of new issues. For example, the automatic and or filler word removal that I hear commonly removing words that shouldn't have been removed. It accidentally detects something as an that's not. And then you find that there's a word that was important and it's just deleted right out of the show. Sound enhancement tools that do the same thing. They can create a very artificial or robotic sound that can also sometimes remove words or add strange sounds that shouldn't be there. These types of things. And now I will totally accept the criticism that some of this doesn't matter that much. Like, who really cares if a word was missing? I saved a bunch of time or money. And okay, like I said, I accept that criticism. That's a debate that we could have. And maybe a DIY solution is perfectly fine in certain cases, and a professional audio engineer is just not going to make a world of a difference. In my opinion, the answer to all this is that depends. What I know, or I strongly believe, that is not good is this use of AI to just click a few buttons and export something without even listening to it. Even if it's something that a listener might not realize consciously, subconsciously, they can get the impression that this is just not professional. Because we all know, whatever our experience level is with audio production or video production, when you turn on a professional, polished podcast or a YouTube video versus an amateur one, you just know this doesn't look professional versus this does. Okay, you don't need to be a rocket scientist to understand that. So my point here, the conclusion on what to be careful with when using AI for podcast editing is, don't just trust what it's doing on its own. Don't just export and throw it out there without listening to it first. I highly recommend, if you insist on doing things yourself and you're using these AI tools, review the work and make manual fixes. And we're talking about the health and wellness space here, right? The trust, the credibility. If you want to have a podcast where random words are missing or people are just noticing this is, kind of sounds amateur. Like, I don't know if I want to pay this person $5,000 for their coaching package. It just doesn't gel, in my opinion. And that's what I've seen. And the people that we're working with are at a higher level and they value that kind of quality more. They see that type of stuff really counts, right? For many of our clients who are choosing to come work with us versus just throwing it through an AI or some other kind of DIY method, they want the time savings and they want the peace of mind. They don't care how we achieve our results. They don't care about the cost, or at least the cost that we charge is reasonable to them. It's just imperative that what goes out looks and sounds professional. If they need something done, they just send us a quick message. They're not having to dive into a software and deal with updates and feature changes and bugs or whatever else. They're not audio editors. They don't care. They don't want to know how it works. They just want it done. They don't understand the technical ins and outs of creating content. They're busy. They just want it reliably done, and then they're on to the next thing. So that's a consideration when you look at, should I be doing it myself or hiring someone? But like I said, at the very least, don't just click the button and assume what the AI spits out is going to be perfect. On that note, moving on from editing, let's get to the next way that you can use AI for your podcast and how to avoid potential downfalls. Let's talk about the show notes. As we all know, AI makes writing much more efficient. It can be a little AI-ish in what it outputs, but whether it's through prompting or manual editing afterwards, AI can make life a lot easier in these cases. And, I remember this. It wasn't too long ago that to do these summaries, you had to listen to a whole podcast episode either in real time or you'd speed it up a little bit, but manually make notes as you listen through the episode and then craft the show notes from that. Nowadays, we can use AI to listen to the episode in seconds and give us a summary or give us some highlights. And then we, as humans, if we choose to, can craft that into something that is much better than what the AI automatically makes on its own. But like I'm saying, in a lot shorter period of time. Now, the thing to watch for here is similar to the last section. Do not just blindly use what the AI gives you. Now, what problems have I seen with this? Why am I telling you this? Well, first of all, the AI referring to the host as the guest or vice versa, not knowing who said what or whose name was what and mixing it up, like misquoting people in the notes, saying that one person said something when it was actually the other person. Placeholders left in the notes, like insert link here. But that's what I'm reading as a consumer, a listener of the podcast, that was put into the show notes because the host or whoever didn't even bother to look at what they're sharing to the public. Insert link to course here, okay? No link was provided. Relating to that, complete blind copy and pasting so that other AI text is left in there, not just the placeholder stuff, but if you use ChatGPT or Grok for this stuff, it'll often say at the end, let me know what you think. If this was the right style or you'd like any changes, just let me know and I can do that. So we're not only just copying the show notes, but we're copying this other stuff from the AI right into the the description field, and it's going out in the podcast for people to read in their apps. Of course, AI can also hallucinate. This is a little bit of a less issue when it comes to show notes because it's referencing your actual episode, but it still should be said. It can just make up things. It can make up references, right? And I've heard about this in the health and wellness space, specifically from, say, a copywriter who has to deal with this. And there are regulations around what people can put out, and AI has often given false information, and that's really problematic in this space. So again, point for proofreading and at least looking over what the AI generates for you. Another thing is inconsistency in voice, either from one episode to another or between, say, your show notes and your website, your social media. Branding is a big deal. You want this all to be consistent. And I've seen people who have a really specific way of talking in their copy on their website or in their social media, but then the show notes are very strange, like really excited or a lot of exclamation points. That just doesn't align. So you can address that with prompting or proofreading or whatever you want to do. But, again, you're just letting the AI do whatever it wants or having your assistant just throw stuff out there and not checking it over. It's not good. And keep in mind as well, repurposing is also great. I love talking about repurposing from your podcast. It's a great way to save time and generate more content. But once again, I feel like a broken record. If you're just thinking AI is just going to churn out a newsletter for you from your podcast or a blog post in this generic voice, just doing what AI does, really think twice about that. A while back, we heard a story about a newsletter who had a really big engaged audience, and they started doing an AI-generated part of their newsletter once a week, and the unsubscribes started happening. People were very angry because they had come to expect a certain style and tone and quality from this newsletter, and they were onto it. They could just see this is just AI slop. This is junk. This is not what I signed up for, and they were gone. Okay, we're all getting really attuned to this, whether it's on LinkedIn or a blog post or email or anything else. We can just see when it's a low effort AI generated post, and you don't want to become associated with that. So if you're using the AI to help you save time on your podcast show notes, make sure that you are putting your proper touch, your proper voice on it, and please watch for those placeholders and make sure that what you're putting out there is of quality and sounds like you. It's a great time-saving tool, but let's not be greedy in how much time we actually want to save, okay? If you feel that you're putting content out that's worthy of someone's attention, your audience's attention, have a little pride in what you're doing and make sure that it is actually of quality. Next and final one that I want to address here in terms of being careful when using AI to do the production for your podcast is social media clips. So chopping up short clips from your podcast, short videos, putting those out on social media, that's a great method of repurposing the podcast and efficiently creating some additional content for your social media. I think it's great. But yet again, AI is not perfect and should not be used to just throw out 50 pieces of low quality junk that you never even look at to all of your social platforms in the click of a button. I see this stuff promoted by these websites that do it. Just click a button and boom, 50 pieces are gone and scheduled on all your platforms. You don't have to think about it. Let's take a step back here and really consider what quality can that stuff really be? Are there 50 amazing moments in your episode? I don't know. I would rather maybe tone it down and focus on quality over quantity. That just sounds wrong. And I am baffled when I see this stuff on on Instagram where the captions have spelling mistakes. It got the complete wrong word and no one fixed it. Or the clips end in the middle of a sentence. You're trying to hear what the point was and it just stops. Or I've seen the two people not centered properly on the screen. One person, half their face is cut off. I think there's such little regard for the audience here. Why should I give this creator a second of my time when they couldn't be bothered to even take some pride in what they're putting out there? They just use one of these automated things, threw out a bunch of clips and whatever. Here's something I put absolutely no effort into. I didn't care at all about how I present myself. And subsequently, if you work with me, you can expect that exact same sort of carelessness. It's just mind-boggling to think that this is happening out there, okay? And From our side of things at East Coast Studio, that's not the level of quality we're aiming for here. Clearly, if you listen to this podcast or anyone who works with us at East Coast Studio, you would know this. We're striving to be the best. That's what we're doing for ourselves, for our clients. They're trying to build trust. They're trying to generate business. It's very important in the health and wellness space. So any low quality content, anything on the verge of AI slop, it just doesn't cut it. You know, when we're choosing the clips for social media for our clients, we do it with people. We look through the episode and we think, you know what, that was a really interesting clip. I like that. I'm going to cut that up. We're going to check it for spelling and grammar. We're going to double check it before it goes out. Make sure there are no mistakes there, because people take pride in stuff, and your audience can tell, you know, if you're a professional who's doing things properly and cares about how they come across versus doesn't care at all and is just trying to get this junk out there and hope somebody comes and follows them or does business with them. So if you are using AI for any or all of your podcast production, keep everything in mind that I've talked about in this episode. There are other possibilities as well, like even using AI to generate a script and then emulate your voice in an episode so you don't have to do anything, but I'm not even going there. Okay. YouTube recently demonetized some AI-generated content to try and prevent this stuff from happening and discourage it from being created and encourage effort being put into actual quality content creation. So there are plenty of ways that you can use AI to help save time and help you create better content. But in some of the ways that I talked about here today, or some of these other ways people have been using it to just make junk, that's not really the way to go. So find ways to use it, but still keep the quality there and keep yourself involved. And a quick side note here too, as an example, there was a story not too long ago of a guy who ended up generating millions in fraudulent music royalties by using AI to generate over 150,000 songs, and he was releasing them under a whole bunch of different fake band and artist names. And then, so not only did he have fake music, he used bots to generate fake streams and earn himself all that money. So we have fake crap AI music being listened to by AI bots, and he's generating money that way. So this is a type of stuff that is flooding the market right now, and the platforms that we're trying to succeed on and cut through all the noise with genuine quality content. And that's not only going on with music, let me tell you, it's obviously going on with podcasting as well, and YouTube videos and all over social media. And it's not the type of thing you want to be associated with, nor is it a winning strategy to just try to make as much junk content as possible. Okay, that's not what we're here for. I know you know that, but you want to be careful when you're using AI not to start slipping into that category without knowing it. I have no doubt as technology improves, AI is going to be able to help us more and more with less of the issues that I outlined today. So this whole episode may be outdated within weeks, but I do believe that humans play a vital role here, and we're going to continue to do that. We want that connection. So we can use these tools to help make life more efficient, but at the end of the day, we cannot just expect people to stick around and just take in bad content. So with all that said, I will give a shameless self-plug here. If you are looking for a reliable human-based solution to help you create quality content that is going to resonate with your audience and build credibility and trust for you, and you can have that peace of mind that while you're saving time, things are under control and the stuff that's going out is of great quality, which is so important in this trust economy that we're living in, let's chat about it. That's what we do here at East Coast Studio. We work only with people who share our values in creating this type of quality content that we can all be proud of and help improve lives. As always, there'll be a link in the show notes where you can chat with us more about that. Love to hop on a call and learn about what you're up to. Thank you for listening, and we'll catch you next time.